Oates, Melbourne business reporter Harry Frost speaking with Pitcher Partners Executive Director of Tax Consulting Craig Watman to find out if business was confident in the current economic management of the state.
I think, Harry, whichever side of politics is elected on the 29th of November, they will have a strong balance sheet to work with going forward, and they should be able to use that to hopefully stimulate some growth and to attract further investment into our state. One recent example of that we're seeing is the strong interest from Asian property development groups in our state, particularly in the residential property development market over the past 12 to 18 months. And that type of investment can stimulate growth, it can create jobs for local businesses, and we would hope to see that continue under the new government.
Now, Victoria's economy is growing at a slower pace than its population. Is this a concern for businesses, and will it have an effect on business confidence?
I think it does have an effect on business confidence. I think the government needs to continue pushing that growth more strongly so that we can see an increase in continued increase or a stronger increase in the interest shown by some of the investors from outside of our state.
Now, taxes are always a bugbear and certainly always an election issue. What do businesses want to see the next government do about taxes for businesses?
Well, you're right that tax is a significant issue, and when we surveyed our client base earlier this year, just before the state budget, one of the strong messages that they gave us was that they were facing, in their view, too strong a taxes burden, paying too much state taxes, and they believe that they should get some relief from state taxes. So one of the top things on their wish list for the incoming government would be to try and reduce the rate of state taxes they're paying, particularly payroll tax, but also some of the other property-based state taxes.
If we do see those changes to payroll tax, what effect will that have on businesses and on employees?
Well, in terms of advantages, clearly there would be an advantage in terms of the cost saving. There was a reduction in the rate of payroll tax earlier this year, 0.05% reduction, and although that was welcomed by our clients and I think businesses in general, it really only provided modest relief. If you take an example of a small business with a payroll of $700,000 per annum, they're now achieving a saving of a modest $75 per annum in payroll tax. That's something, but it's only a modest saving. So in our view, the government should really look at a much more significant decrease in the payroll tax rate of at least 0.2% and or a significant increase in the threshold at which payroll tax becomes payable.
And what about goods and services taxes? What could the state government do for businesses in that area?
Well, it now looks more likely that the GST will be included as part of the wider tax review that's going to happen next year. And if that does result in either an increase in the GST rate or a broadening of the GST base, then we believe that should be accompanied by a full review of state taxes. When the GST was introduced in 2000, it was intended to provide an alternative source of revenue for the states and territories. Unfortunately, that really hasn't translated into being, because of the GST and other factors. The states, including Victoria, still continue to rely very heavily on the state taxes to balance the bottom line. But if the GST rate does go up or the base is broadened and there is additional GST revenue flowing into our state, then we believe that the government should take a strong, hard look at its ability to reduce the state taxes burden and provide some real state taxes relief for businesses in Victoria.
And what about land tax and stamp duty for businesses?
Well, clearly they're a big cost as well, so landholder duty is a significant issue for our clients and businesses in general that have land holdings in Victoria. It does cost them a significant amount of money each year. Land tax is another significant issue for our client base. So property-based taxes will always be there as a source of revenue. Unfortunately, in our view, they're probably relied on too heavily by the state government, and as I said, if the GST rate does increase and provide some additional revenue, then we believe that those property-based state taxes should be reviewed to see whether any relief can be provided.
Infrastructure's become a big issue for this election, particularly transport infrastructure and particularly the East-West link. What do businesses think about the infrastructure policy of the current government or future governments? Do they care, or do they simply want certainty? Do they want this East-West link?
Yeah, well, infrastructure clearly is a major issue, and when we surveyed our clients again around budget time, they were clearly in favour of investment by the government and continuing investment by the government in major infrastructure projects. Part of the issue, though, is that they have a longer term horizon than just the election cycle. They make their strategic investment decisions over the longer term. And one of the unfortunate things about changes in government sometimes is that the incoming government can reverse some of the major decisions on infrastructure that have been made. That has impacts on businesses across the board. So it really doesn't matter whether it's the East-West link or any other major infrastructure project. I guess what our clients would like to see is some long-term certainty beyond the election cycle that they can actually base their strategic decisions on.
So from your discussions with businesses, what's the consensus? Who do they want to see win the election, Labor or Liberal?
I think they just wanted a government that continues to invest in infrastructure. They want a government that continues to stimulate jobs in this state, to provide growth for the businesses, and also to provide some payroll tax relief and possibly, or if possible, some relief from state taxes as well.
Treasurer